Howdy, InfoSec Attic here, or Matt is what you can call me. And today we're gonna be running through how I do my own analysis of malware and more like triage, but just dissecting malware and seeing what it's doing. And from there, we're gonna see what during analysis what some of the strings will or what some of the stuff we'll see in smoke logs, and this will be done through CTF. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Now, let's just make sure that we'll be using a sample that I did a write-up on my Substack here. So this is the equation rat that I took a look at. Go to any malware database, so Malware Bazaar. It would be a great resource. Then install it here. Now, you'll open with 7-zip, extract, and then of course type in the infected. Right, but I already have it here. Well, might as well. More the merrier. And so in this virtual environment, I have downloaded Flare VM. It downloads a bunch of tools on your Windows virtual machine here, where analysts could take a piece of malware apart and understanding it further. Now, there's a couple of tools that I will use here. The first is PE Studio. And as we can see here, these are both the same malware. There's a couple things that I'm seeing here. One is the original file name. Alright, this does use the .NET library here, as it's identified. And additionally, you have the SHA-256 of the file. Get some water. And now that we have the SHA-256 the file, right, what you will normally do is that you copy value, so you copy SHA-256, and then we'll just pull VirusTotal here. Alright, you'll look at and as we can see, yeah, this is malware, right? For a lot of people, you wouldn't need to do any further because there's already some IOCs, and obviously what people are saying about the malware right here, its behavior, right? Some of the URLs and registry set, of course, scheduled tasks. Right. So for most people, you probably won't need to go any further here, but I want to analyze malware, so I'm going to take a look at it further. Now, here's the thing, right? Sometimes, and this is kind of a problem with PE Studio, is that it takes a long time to pull the strings, right? But also why I will use detected easy here. Alright, both the same. And yeah, well, it'll go ahead and pull the strings right here, and yeah, there's a bunch. Now, a tool that I will use to check and understand the malware's capabilities a little bit further here is a tool called Kappa. And the great thing about Kappa is that it has a set of rules that it has, right? That'll fire off, and it'll tell an analyst, hey, this is what the malware's able to do here. So in this case, Kappa, I want to use, no, screw it, we'll just do this. Right. And so it will analyze the malware's capabilities further. Here. It is going to take a bit. And while that's happening here, use a tool like Floss Come on. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Kappa can take a bit to run here. Especially sometimes the malware's much. There it is. So there's a couple things that I can see here. Right. The first is, of course, it's SHA-256. Right. What's it able to do? So it'll modify the registry. Some of the behavior in C2 is pretty important. There. Now, by default, malware has a bunch of strings, but it's also why we'll use floss because a lot of times some of the strings are obfuscated, so it's unreadable, right? And so you can use a tool like floss to decode some of the strings and seeing what we can get an idea of what the malware is going to do. So we'll do floss. Now, come on. It's a bit of a pain here. I see it's P Studio. Sometimes it'll freeze up like this. Yeah, there it is. Close this. Floss. You know, send it to. Doesn't matter the name. Oh, there it is. Now, as we can see here, there's lots and lots of strings. I don't know how many. This is quite a wild amount here. And then I'll just scroll down further. A bunch of strings I'm not really interested in. There it is. So Castle Crypto. Alright. That's whatever the heck this is. Not TTT. Yeah. Some gibberish. Bouncy Castle. Okay, T. Whatever this is. Okay, so this looks like some sort of HMAC encryption. Yeah. Yeah, some encryption. Yeah. Type of malware is known for this crazy amount of encryption. It's not crazy. It's just a lot. I wonder if there's scheduled tasks here. There's probably some of it somewhere. Yeah, some get data, that biometric data, so a bunch of data that it takes. Okay, right, read and write, location data. Yeah, this would take me a while. You do it through a sandbox, you won't need to do that. You won't need to do this. Joe Sandbox and hybrid analysis does a pretty good job. All right, there's this TLS. server key exchange, so bunch. Get TLS changed. Yeah, there it is. Do change, do create. Yeah, so it does change. Conduct changes on the registry here. Yeah, this is such a large, so many strings. There's more strings for a lot of different malware though. Here, and then let's see if we can find schedule task. Oh, there it is. Okay, so upon static strings here that we can see, one of them is schedule tasks, right? So create, and of course establish persistence via run keys. That's what I'm thinking. And there's obviously some regex right here, to my understanding. And of course delete and rename delete value in the registry here. And of course post name, username. So it wants, so to my understanding here, that it wants information on the host here, as well as, and of course, browsers. So yeah, so run and one runs keys here. So we can get a couple of ideas of what it's doing here. And of course, it identifies what firewall and antivirus that the endpoint, the infected user has. Okay. Now, another tool that we can do this with all in one, use Malcat. Alright, I have my own license. This is in beta here. And so we open the file, desktop. Let's pull this here. Alright. And with the power of magic, there you go. So, and of course, right, Kesla Code's database identified it as Quasar with 100% certainty, and some of the YAR signatures that it fired off. So there's obviously some browsers. It's obviously a browser sealer, called IP and list installed, which we saw in the strings, a keylogger API, right? And of course, persistence through schedule task, auto run, and look at the strings. There's some of it here. Encrypted password, antivirus product here. Here. And what we see in, for example, scheduled. I think I opened it twice. This you will see in Splunk or in the logs. And so we're gonna pull up a retired CTF that I did here. Of course, I did a write-up on this. All right, just confirm this is the Black Basta Lab. This is retired, so write-ups are featured here. And then if we pull the index here, I'll just copy and paste it. There's no reason to waste time. Alright, and just to explain what this query is doing, it's, first of all, it's pulling, I wildcarded it to pull the logs from sysmon and event ID 1 pertaining to file creation and a user that has probably been, that was probably compromised using scheduled task here. And then I have it tabling the user, the file name, parent command line, and command line here. Right, so all the commands that we see. It's gonna take a bit here. Huh, interesting. Let's get rid of this. What? Hold on. Sort. Data. What? Interesting. Oh. I see. Hmm. Interesting. Why do I want to do this? Obviously, failures. Sometimes it'll... Yeah. Oh, event code. And then what is the user? Let's narrow it down here. Sometimes it really be doing that. Not the most ideal way of... Okay. Okay, so I didn't add the... Okay, there it is. Alright. Sort plus time. There it is. Alright. Sort time. Table. User. Is it? User original phone. Yeah, so there it is. Right. Alright. This is something we'll see. So whatever we saw with scheduled tasks here, not exactly the same as what we saw here, but you will see it in logs, regardless. Here. So with that being said, now, given that the malware uses the .NET library, I can then use DNSBy to debug it further. You don't need to do this. Alright. It is going to be... It takes up a lot of time. Oh, is it not the... Ah. Interesting. Oh no, it's x86. Yeah, that's my fault. Oh! Okay, so I didn't close it. That's why, because I had two programs running. Alright, that's my fault. I'm sorry. Okay, there it is. And of course, the amount of stuff here. And an entry point, whatever. I can't even read this. Yeah. It'll write registry key. And it'll get the host name. Username. Oh wow. Nice. Username, PC name. So it'll get information from the user. Now I don't need to look at it further. Right. All I care about right now is what it'll see to. Right. Kappa, Kappa, Floss already showed me and gave me an idea of what the malware is capable and what it's gonna do. Right. So there's no need to look at it further. I just want to see what it's gonna see to here. And with that, we'll use something called FakeNet. Right. FakeNet is great. Right. It emulates traffic. And so now I am going to run the malware. Right. You could ideally use Procmon to see what it's looking at doing further. Right. Through dynamic analysis, but I'm not going to do that. Well, I'm not going to use Procmon. So now, right. This is a big one. Right. Before I detonate malware, right, I want to check whether this is turned on. Right. Bad news if you turn this thing on and you're letting the malware run. All right. Wouldn't want it infecting your computer. I wouldn't want it to infect mine. So this is good habits to develop. And I'm gonna run FakeNet here. Now, something to keep in mind is that you do need to run the malware as administrator. Here. So I'm gonna run it. And yeah, there it is. Requests for TCP, Viet key, Sarah. Where are you? Alright, cool. I don't need to look at it further. Then what I'll use is Wireshark here. Where is the FakeNet? There it is. There's my PCAP. Alright. Scrolling at this point. So this is just normal activity here. And then if we scroll through Wireshark further, right, and if we follow whatever we saw in FakeNet, it was sending a bunch of DNS requests. Right. And so we'll go ahead and pull that up here. TCP local, that's not it. No, why don't we do DNS? Okay. So this is just regular DNS activity, but we can see that it was sending a bunch of domain requests to sarahall.ru.com, right? And malware sun win. And if we pulled up through central ops further, right, we'll go ahead and use central ops, right? Via key, Sarah. All right, this was a domain that was created on the 28th. Here, and as we could see here, it's been taken down. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Malware, someone. Let's see. Yeah. And I'll even pull it up here on my blog, my Substack. Alright, we can see that it was created on the 28th of October of last year. And so, whatever I saw here would be some of the IOCs and C2. And well, that now I just take snapshot, restore it, and this will be all new. Pretty cool. And with that, that's how I take a look at malware and what are some of the steps I do. Now, if you are going to do a little bit of malware analysis, I will reference number one is Matt Keeley's PMAT course, Practical Malware Analysis and Triage course, as well as a book by Kyle, Evasive Malware is a good one to take a look at as well. And with that, that ends my process of how I look at malware. If anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to answer. All right. With that, take care.